has been dropped and they kick off on their journey. Same he did with Saul. Saul, he did the dramatic also, Acts chapter 9. When he tried to catch his attention, a bright light shining upon him. Then he fell off his donkey. Then he said, Saul, Saul, why do you try to kick against the pricks? When he sees, as he is calling us or wooing us or beckoning to us, he sees that we turn aside. He is sure that he has caught our attention. Then he does everything to release grace and mercy to bring us to a point where we see that Jesus is Lord. And we are translated from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of his dear Son. It said those he called, he also justified. When we receive Jesus, so we will slow down at the points between where he beckons to us and when we get saved. I have a few things to just explain in that part of the journey. When we receive Jesus in our lives, listen, friend, it's not for us to just attend church. There's more to our walk with him than that. When we enter into a relationship with the Creator, it's not just for us to pass through life and live life in a mundane way, but we are destined to do great things. When we receive Jesus, we should, with excitement, engage him. We should engage him with passion, where we're saying to him, what do you want me to do with this life that you've given me? Let's look at Acts chapter 9. We'll just be skipping over a few verses. We'll read bits of them just to lay the points as we drop the thought. In Acts chapter 9, after he had been knocked off the donkey, I think in verse 6, it says, and he trembling, astonished, God had caught his attention. God had called to him. Over the years, as he was murdering the church, as many people just go through life thinking that they own their lives. As many people just go through life thinking that you are the one that has the prerogative to decide for yourself the life that God handed over to you. So he got to this point. God had caught his attention. In verse 6, he said, and he trembling and astonished. Acts chapter 9, verse 6. He said, Lord, what will you have me do? Oh, that's the joy point for heaven. When we receive Jesus, we have been justified. We have been moved from the kingdom of hell to the kingdom of his light. Then we, with excitement and passion, start asking him, what do you want of this life? What do you want me to do with my life? Tell me, I'm ready. What do you expect of me? I'm willing to partake of it. I'm willing to give myself to it. That's the same excitement with which Paul knew someone greater than him. He had just had an encounter with him. He knew that his journey, the real journey of his life, was about to start. So he needed him to tell him. He said, God, what do you want me to do with my life? What are the things I need to prepare to equip myself for this journey you want me to walk with you? Those are the things that we should, as we receive Jesus. Like I said, it's not just about coming to church and filling your quota on Sunday or Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday. But whereas we've entered this relationship, you're like the person who the flag has been dropped and your race car has got on the track on your journey of life. When he calls, like he did to Saul, when he calls, like he did to Moses, when he calls, like he did to Samuel, then one of the things we need to begin to do at that time is find out from him all that this life that he has given us is about. I remembered as I was preparing this morning, as he gave me the thought stroke yesterday, I remembered when I was wooed some years back. It was so funny. I was in my parlor. My parents had traveled. I was the only one at home. They were playing. I didn't really send Christianity. They were playing 700 Club. I can never forget that experience. Then Pat Robinson, on the screen, he said, yes, you sitting there listening to me. Yes, I'm talking to you. You need him, or your life will never amount to anything. I looked left, I looked right. So I got scared. I knelt down and I followed in the prayer that he prayed, 700 Club. I found after that prayer, I started having strange encounters because he called out to me. He justified me. Then, like what he excitedly expects from all of humanity, who he has prepared a life assignment for. God has an assignment for every life. He wants us to disturb him, to engage him, to tell him, tell me what the details of my life are. Tell me what you want me to do with my life. I will do my best to follow it to the letter. I noticed in verse 11, still talking about this event with Paul, he lost his sight. Then he was led to another house. I was just running through it this morning. Verse 11 was interesting. They said, I think verse 9, 11. I hope I'm right. There was an instruction to the prophets that he should go to. Oh, my page had flipped to Acts chapter 6. Forgive me. Okay, yes, it is verse 11. And the Lord said unto him, talking to God, had to go and engage a prophet, one of his servants. Arise and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus. For behold, he prayed. I read this morning. I found it interesting. Paul, when just start journey, he was already somewhere asking God. For a man to be praying, a man who has just had an encounter with the Most High, he was praying, asking him questions, engaging him. Okay, so what next? Engaging him. So what is my life all about? He said he was in the house, he was blind, but he was praying. God even told the prophet that he's talking to me right now. He's asking me things. He's asking for clarity. He wants to know what this life that I've prepared for him is all about. These assignments that God has for all of us, everybody has it. Our daddy in the house has a pastoral assignment amongst other things. That's the evangelistic part and that. For everyone, my point is, there is an assignment. So yeah, if you are looking from the corner of your eye, okay, our mommy in the house, she's one of God's powerhouses. God prepared her for that. God prepared daddy for this. We are church members. No, there's an assignment for your life. There are many kinds of assignments I wrote here. Many kinds of assignments. It may not entirely be the fivefold ministry, but there's something that God has earmarked for you that throughout your lifetime, as you journey with him, he would desire, be excited that you fulfill it. Tabitha that's one kind of assignment. This woman, they just bore her to give joy to certain lives. That was just her ministry. She helped old women in the church. She was so close for them. She would do unusual things for the older women. That was her assignment. God must have made it clear to her. That assignment was, every assignment has is destined for impact. Every assignment will ultimately touch lives. Every assignment has what it's supposed to do and the people that they are sent to. As little as some person who is a great prophet in that branch at that time would have looked at her that was such a big deal with what she's doing. It was such a big deal because she responded to heaven concerning what heaven revealed that she was supposed to be using her life for. And because she was running that journey like God had revealed to her, she died. And the people whose lives had been touched, like God knows that every one of us sitting here, there's some person you are sent to. There's some ecosystem you are supposed to affect. There's some marketplace that you are supposed to impact. There's somewhere where, as the hand of God is upon you and his anointing is at work in your life, where you will feel the sands of time. She did hers, Tabitha. For some, you might just be called to be a financier of the gospel. God will give such people that's their own assignment. He will give them great wealth so that they will not be loud. They will not be lousy. There will be people who have been disciplined by the Spirit. They may have gone through difficult financial times. Maybe as they went through crisis in their earlier lives, in their finances, it may have seemed like hell on high waters. But sometimes, I wrote in a side note, sometimes the problems we are going through might be a problem God has called you to resolve. He's trying to build your capacity. He's trying to build you for the assignment he has called you for, the assignment he has called you to, and the reason for which you were born. The scripture I put for like examples of those who that's their kind of assignment, Luke chapter 8 verse 1 to 3, talked about Mary Magdalene, delivered from strong demonic possession. She became a devoted disciple, chasing Jesus passionately and providing from her personal resources to fund the ministry. So Bible recorded that those were one of the people that were funding his ministry as it was going on. She must have felt so grateful for God to have. Do you know what it is for? I remember the books we used to read, Kenneth Hagin, years ago. There's obsession, then there's possession. If someone is terribly possessed with a lot of demons, if you get free from that, I don't know if that person does not say within his heart that I will serve you till the day that I die. I guess that's how she felt. Felt so excited to give to him all of herself, to serve him and to run that course that he had created for her. She knew what it was. She had clarity on the details, because I'm sure she would have engaged him and he would have given her clarity again and again. In Romans chapter 12 verse 6, like I said, there are many kind of assignments. I'm just trying to buttress that statement. Romans 12:6 gives a few others. This is so that you will know that when they're talking of God, people have God-given assignments. In the corner of some people's minds, I'm on, Pastor D, Sister Oji, Pastor JK. It's not only fivefold. You could have a calling in the marketplace where you just be a solution provider, because when you do well, really well in your space or in your sphere, you bring glory to heaven. And some people God will just call for that, where Daniel chapter 5 verse 12 comes alive, where they said, we know a man who can solve hard riddles and mysteries that nobody else can resolve. Where in your office they will say that, I'm sure when Sister Kemi comes or Brother Jacob comes, when we discuss this thing with them, they will have wisdom that will resolve this thing. It's a kind of a life assignment. So here in Romans 12:6, is giving different classifications of different things possibly men could be released into as grace is given into them. From verse 6 he says, having then gifts that differ one from another. Romans 12:6. That is given to us, whether prophecy. So the gifts, they have different ways they play out. Some people could have the gift of a seer. For some, they dream it. For some, they see open visions. For some, God will give them the word of wisdom and of knowledge that we speak clearly in their ears, like it happened in 1 Samuel chapter 10. He said God has spoken in Samuel's ears the day before that the morrow he's the one that I'm going to make leader, and they said the day that what's his name, Samuel came before the prophet, Saul came before the prophet. As soon as he saw him, the Spirit whispered in the ear that the person I spoke to you about yesterday, that's him. So then he invited him into the upper place. He said, come and dine with me, because he wanted to use time to download all that God wanted spoken over his life. So they are different. For those who are given to ministry, let them do so. For him that teacheth, let him do so. These are different things that possibly God could be calling you that's listening to me this evening too. For him that exhorted, let him do so. For him that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. I remember there was a book years ago, was talking about, this book that wrote about Lillian Yeoman, some woman who had a terrible addiction God delivered her from. She used to be a medical practitioner. After many years, she left the medical profession, and because that thing didn't go until she started sitting, looking into the Word. The Spirit revealed the life, the flesh in the Word. And from the Word, she got her healing. She was going from place to place, teaching people, and they were getting healed because she found her place in Him. She found the assignment God wanted for her. It took a difficult pathway, but she eventually found herself there. So there are many kinds of assignments that God has designed that we, His people, can walk in. And He put certain abilities in each of us, like we've seen in Romans chapter 12. These abilities are to help us to carry out this life assignments. So there are certain things that are sitting in your life. There's an ability that's unique. You might not be the only one in the world that has that ability. That's why that place in Romans 12:6 says that there are many gifts, many abilities, but their manner of operation differs from one to the other. There's something in your life that needs to be unlocked. There's an ability in your life that needs to be pushed out by the Spirit of God. These abilities that He put in us, they are put there so that as we discover the reason why we are born, those things will help us to run that journey, fulfill that assignment. As you take steps towards that assignment, you find that you are built up. That's one of the things God achieves when we begin to respond. I was listening to someone and he said pretty much what our HOM said to us on Sunday. The person said that when you are given, or God speaks about a major, massive project to you, one of the first things you should do is take a first step before you begin to analyze what are the things I really need to fulfill all of this. Just respond. Follow the instruction. You are acting like someone who is saying, yes, sir. If you are sure about these things, you are telling me that this is me, Harvey. This is what my life will look like. This is what you expect that I will live out. I will take a step. Like our HOM said, just take a step. As you take that step, He will start giving more clarity. He will start giving wider pictures. The same happened with Saul. Saul just had little bits. In fact, they had to tell the prophet first, I think in one of the later verses in Acts chapter 9, that I want you to go and tell this man. The prophet, first of all, said, he has killed many Christians. Then me, you want me to go on the slaughter? But he said, no. Go thy way, for he is a chosen, verse 15, Acts 9. He is a chosen vessel unto me to bear my name before the Gentiles. What God is saying in essence is, he has an assignment I've given him. I want you to go and tell him about this assignment. Then I think in Galatians, he said that as soon as I had received the call, I went straight away to a location. He shut himself down for 3 years to pray, because he knew that if he has spoken about my life assignment, I need to prepare for it. I need to get equipped. I need to add on the things that will make me run this race. Like I said, as you take steps, you are built up. As you take steps, you develop the God-given abilities that he placed within you. You build a strong, I wrote here, mental capacity. As you keep walking on that journey, you build a deep relationship with the divine. Let me expand this building a mental capacity. We'll be wondering, how does that fit in? Let me just say it the way God spoke it to me. In Daniel chapter 1, he said, the Hebrew boys, he was talking about the Hebrew boys. They had been taken into a place. It was an open field, open for everybody. Pretty much like you will have some people that will go for leadership programs, or this PIT that you have in Warri. So many candidates. They'll go through a period. Same discipline, several trainings, several kinds of enlightenment. At the end of it, maybe 20 people entered for the program. They will pick those who paid attention. They will pick those who grabbed quickly. They will pick those who they saw they had a high level of intelligence, and they were soaking all these things quickly. He said these Hebrew boys, their minds were developed as God prepared them for destiny. That's the way I see that Daniel chapter 1, verse 4. Let's just look at a thing or two there. Daniel chapter 1, verse 4. Children in whom there was no blemish. Talking about the crop of people that were given a general blank check. There was no preferred candidate at the start. Children in whom there was no blemish, well favored, skillful in all wisdom, cunning in knowledge, understanding science, such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the culture of the Chaldeans. They learned science, these candidates. These are 4 boys, or 3, these boys, God was preparing them for their destiny, preparing them for the journey they were to walk on. They learned science, they learned technology of those times. They were vast. In our own time, if we relate it, that's like saying someone is going out of his natural habitat, learning AI maybe, learning financial management skills. They were schooled in the arts of the era they lived in. Verse 1, verse 5 said something interesting. And the king appointed them a daily portion of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before They wanted people who will have influence, who will be able to stand before powerful people and have courage, be polished, be intelligent enough, have the required knowledge for the place that they were being prepared for. So he said that 3 years training, that's what I underlined here. So as God has given you your life assignment, what are you doing to prepare? What are you doing to prepare? Seek after God with all your getting. Have an understanding of the times and the seasons, so that you're better able to understand, okay, this is what God is saying. I think what I read from the handwriting on the wall, these are the things I need to begin to give myself to. This is the map of God for your life, based on the things you are doing. You have made up your mind, I'm going to equip myself. I'm going to prepare. Because what he revealed to me, it will take some level of training spiritually. He'll take some other level of being developed, exposed to things that will be necessary for where I'm going. Sometimes for some people, God might be speaking repeatedly certain things in your life that could be the handwriting on the wall. For different people, it's different things, and it's because of the assignment he has called you to. Because he knows you have started the journey, and he wants you to run that journey, and he wants you to run it well. And as you obey and take steps in obedience, he starts revealing more and more. Go further in your life journey. I wrote here, pursue your life assignment. Because as you do that aggressively, sometimes as you are preparing, equipping, and all of that, you find that at some particular point, because that's where he has mapped for it, a particular door is waiting there. That door is another inroad to some other phase. So imagine if at the time for some people, God is waiting on you. He's given several opportunities to develop, to be exposed, to build your spiritual muscles, to expose yourselves to other relevant things that will give you the strength and the enablement for where he's taking you. But some people mostly focus on just the spiritual. Okay, I'll build my prayer life. Great, fantastic, necessary. I will build my word life. Oh, very, very necessary as well. But you can see what these boys did. They were skilled in science. They learned the technology of those times. So when that door that he has prepared, there are several of those doors. They are like the final quest we read years ago. Has some people, they had paid the price. They're battling. So he gave some other people chance in the battle to climb up the mountain so that they can get to the garden where they will dwell with him. There's some other people, those were the interesting set of people. They said because of the sacrifice some of the saints who had paid the price had done, trap doors or sudden doors opened on the lower part of the mountain. They walked in and they joined the rest who had gone ahead, had fought, had labored, had faced warfares. So such kind of doors that will take you to another season in your life. It's all part of the journey. But how well are you preparing? How well are you equipping yourself for this? Proof of this, Daniel 1:20, when he said that after the 3-year period, this young man, they've learnt with attention, rapt attention. They gave all of their minds to learn all that was required because they sensed that this was part of their destiny. That door opened for them. When they said they tested all of them and they found that these young men were 10 times more intelligent than the rest, then they were put in the palace. That's the kind of door I'm talking about. Another door can be seen in Daniel chapter 5, verse 12. Standing, interpreting of dreams. So he sensed as part of her life assignment, I wrote here, that she needed to ascend to the throne. The relevant knowledge that you require for where he is taking you to. Because he knows where you're going. He knows what you need. And he